Hi, my name is Vivek Gupta, and in this video, we will talk about the student tracker. So let's get started. So the student tracker is used to track the progress of the students. And let's walk through an example so that we can see what the student tracker looks like. Um, the student tracker, has basically different spreadsheets or sheets inside it. It's a Google spreadsheet if you see it, and it has different tabs. One of the tabs is the volunteers tab. This is where you see the list of all the volunteers. Now, all this information here is not real, it is fake. All the email addresses, cell phones, etc. This is just for the demonstration. But when you get when the spreadsheet is the tracker is shared with you, you would actually see the real names of the volunteers, their phone numbers, etc., so that it's easy for all of you to kind of be in touch with each other. um, so this has like the basic information about phone numbers, email address, etc. And this spreadsheet right here, it says clearly, do not edit the spreadsheet. If you try to edit the spreadsheet, let's say I try to edit this, some one of these columns, I just put something, you will see that everything kind of just disappears, so it's all run through formulas and programs. So please do not edit. So if you delete it, then it will come back again. Okay. So the next one is the students. This actually shows you all the students who have registered into the program for this particular library, so this section. So this one just says test library. For you, it would say your library's name. So for example, it could be Eola Library or Cambrian Library, Little Elm Library, etc. So that's basically what it is. And again, this one is do not edit. So please do not edit. If you try to edit it or put something, so just like this, same thing happens. So please don't do that. The next one is the roster. This is the sheet that is used by the session lead to manage the assignments, etc. for the students. Most of the work is done automatically by the system, but it can be manually overridden by the session lead. So from your perspective, there is really not much to do here, except if you want to look at the history of what has happened with the student in terms of what communication has happened with the student. So usually the status here, if you look at it, there are like different kinds of statuses. I won't go through them. They seem kind of almost pretty obvious. Assigned means they have been accepted into the program, into the class, and a tutor has been assigned. So this is the tutor column and the tutor email column. So anytime it is assigned, you will see that who it is assigned to is also always present. Okay. The this particular comment is where you can see any what was done to the student, where they removed, where they assigned, etc. And if certain things have been emailed to them, all the email communications will be actually recorded right here for your information. So the other sheet is this one right here, which says unassigned. Unassigned is the sheet that where all the students who have not yet been accepted will be listed right here, or students who have been removed or withdrawn, they'll all show up right here. Okay, so the last one is this sheet, and this is your tutor sheet. This is the one that you would actually be using to record the progress of the student. And depending on the number of volunteers or tutors who are here, you will have multiple of these. We actually usually try to pair two tutors together. So that way, if one of the tutors is going to be absent or something, the other tutor is like the buddy and they can support each other. So that's the general idea. So let's go through this spreadsheet right here and see what you can do. So the first class, as you will learn in the next section, is always a diagnostic class. So, so when you do the diagnostic, you would enter something like diagnostics right here, right? And you would do the same thing right here. You'll say diagnostics, and and then you would actually, once you've done the diagnostic, you would have made the determination what module and packet to actually assign to this student for the next week's class. Usually what you do is you would enter the module name. So let's say we'll just take a simple case here. So let's say this was add 0 to 5 to 0 to 5. So that's your module name and then a colon and then what packet got assigned to what you plan to assign. So let's say it is just the beginning packet add 1. So you would just enter it like that, right? And then, for the homework, you would, in the first time, you would kind of make a guess or an assumption what packet would probably the student will take home for the homework. In the first time, you would not have much this guesswork because you haven't yet worked with the student. So here you would just say the next packet, which is add 2, right? And then what you do is, so this class, the first class, you entered the diagnostics, then you planned out for the next class and the class after the classwork for three basically columns here. You would plan out, okay, I'm going to give add 1 and then I'm going to give for the homework add 2, and the class after that I will probably give let's say 0 to 5 0 to 5 colon add 3, right? So that's basically what you need to enter as a plan, and this is what you did in the class. So that's how it works in the diagnostics. So let's say, the next class happens after that. Now, let's say instead of 120, now you are in 127. So the next class has come. Then you would give this packet, we'll go through how you give and everything. And then you plan this thing. You will update these particular columns in the classwork and what you give in the homework with the actual thing that you do. So for example, let's say the student was working on add 1, but he couldn't finish the add 1. So obviously, you can't give add 2, because they didn't finish the packet. So you would make the change here and you would say, okay, this is add 1, and then you will just say finish, which means they're trying to finish whatever they were doing in the class in the home. Okay. Now, potentially, it might be possible, maybe only last page was left. If only last page was left, you want to kind of say, okay, you want to finish this, and at the same time, you want to give them the next packet. So then you would just do this, and then 0 to 5, and then add 2, right? So basically, you've given them 2 packets, the packet for the classwork to finish, and then to start on the add 2 packet, right? So that's basically how you would enter in the tracker right here, okay? And because you gave add 2, probably, the planning for add 3 is okay. So now you're done this class, you need to plan for the next 3, just like you did in the previous class, right? So you would actually come here and say, okay, probably add 1, add 2, you can do add 3, and maybe in the homework, I'll give the next packet, and let's say that's add 4. And you will also plan the week after that, remember? So you're going to put like something like add 5, right? So that's basically how you would plan for the week after. So that's usually how it works. Now, let's look at some of the exception cases. For the exception cases, let's say the student was absent, so then you would say absent right here. And also right here, always make sure that you put absent in both the columns for homework and classwork, because you didn't give any homework, so just say absent, okay? The other thing could be that the student is, let's say they did add 1 here. So let's say this same example, let's take. So let's say this student also did add 1, but you saw there were lots of mistakes and you want to repeat this add 1 for the homework. So what you would do is you would say add 1 and then you would say repeat. Okay, or you can just say R, so something like that, but usually it's not a bad idea to just say repeat. Okay, so you just say repeat, which means you gave the same packet and you're make sure that in the tracker you're recording that you intended to the student to repeat this packet, so then you enter repeat. Okay, and then again you would plan the 1 week after, and you can say maybe I'll repeat this one, but then this one I will plan as add 2, right? So add 0 to 5 to 0 to 5, and add 2, right? So that's how it will change, right? So now you have planned So you planned, you did add one in the class, and then you said, hey, the student was struggling, so I'm going to give a repeat. Then I'm going to change this to add two. And then probably I want to give, I want to plan this out. So I'll give add three, add three for the homework, and plan, let's say, add four for the next class's classwork, right? So again, you always plan like three columns, classwork, homework, and the next class's classwork. So that's basically another example of what might happen and how you would enter. Um, Sometimes, you might actually give, instead of repeat, you might just say you're repeating, but you want to give an alternate packet. So alternate packets, usually you will just mark with an A, and you'll give the alternate packet. And I think you learned about the alternate packets before when we went to the website. So those are some of the combinations of what you do in how you track the actual progress of the student. Um, Now let's go back to the presentation and see, we covered everything. So we talked about these things, volunteer sheets, students roster, tutor sheets, unassigned sheets. There is something called a property sheets, and there is something called a volunteer hour sheet. And that is another thing. Actually, it's not right here. Usually, you would see your names for the volunteer sheet. This is something that the session lead actually sets up or runs. So what happens is, for all active volunteers, there's a volunteers hour sheet. So this sheet has appeared right here, and you would usually have the name. Um, you would have the name of all your tutors. This is the work of the session lead to actually enter the volunteer hours. So don't worry about this. You just want to make sure that your hours have been recorded. That's all. Um, let's go back and see what, and then of course the properties, this is an internal thing. Please do not touch this particular sheet, just like you don't touch volunteers and student sheet or roster sheets, right? Um, all right, so the other thing is, when you look at the sheets here, please do not edit anything right here. This particular section, you see this particular break right here. So you can move, the cursor, you can scroll horizontally, but this doesn't scroll. Do not change any information here. As soon as you make a change here, it will actually be an error, and the system scripts may not actually work properly. Okay. So that's what the main thing is. This is just a capture of exactly what I discussed. Do not modify these sheets. So you see these property sheets, unassigned sheets, students and volunteer sheets, right? This is the leads update the volunteers hour sheet and the roster sheet. So it shouldn't really, you shouldn't really have to bother with it. Tutors updates, your own sheets, or if you're teaching a student of another tutor just because the other tutor is absent, then you would go to that tutor sheet and update the student's information for that day. All right, so we just talked about all this, enter classwork, that's covered, and then you plan out for the next three columns, right? That's basically what it is. And please fill out the tracker before you leave the class so that you don't have to keep remembering what each student did. All right, and I think we went through this. You can say, if you're trying to mark the student, give the packet home to finish, say finish, A's for alternate, and repeat. We talked about it also. For absence, this is one critical thing. If the student has informed, and they have filled out the actual student absence request form, this entry will be made for you automatically by the system. But let's say it has not been, and the student actually, the parent actually informed you, you can just write absent and then informed in parentheses. If the student or the parent did not inform you and they were absent, you just say absent. That's it. All right. The other thing is, just be a little careful, because these packets or the module names can be very similar. So like this example right here is add 0 to 5 and add 6 to 9 to 0 to 5. These are like two different modules altogether, right? So if you make a mistake, that could create havoc for the student. And this is again the examples that we just went through. 1A is alternate, finish, repeat, no homework, absent, absent informed. and no class. No class usually is always entered by the system, so you don't have to worry about it. All right. So the other thing is, we suggest you keep a notebook with you. And what happens is if you have the notebook, you can track like what the student's progress is, and you can take notes. In case, something happens, then you have the notebook to go back and refer to because you'll have the notes of the students, etc. And you just write down the classwork and homework in your notebook just to kind of keep, and any information like, oh, the student is struggling or what they're doing, etc. So you can do all that. So now the question was, this is just a interview. What do you think will happen if the student forgets to get homework to the class? Usually, homework is the basis for, you can say, oh, this is the homework, I'll check, and then I will follow up what's the next thing for them to do. But if they forget the homework, then what do you do? Right? So you have to first find out what the student did. So what would you do? It will be good to kind of answer. You can pause right here and try and answer this question. As part of this training module, I'll move forward. So since the tracker is up to date, of course, you can just look up the tracker and see what the student was doing, what you had assigned for homework. The second is, of course, you can check your notebook and whatever packet you had given for home, you can ask them if they did the packet and they forgot, or they didn't do the packet and they're forgotten. You can look at that packet online, and then you can actually do like a quick assessment orally if it is smaller numbers, or by writing, to make sure that they got this packet before you move to the next one. If they didn't get the packet or they didn't do the packet, of course, you want to repeat whatever you gave for the homework in the classwork, right? So that's basically what it is. And these are just a couple of house notes, reminder emails. If by any chance you forget to fill out the tracker, then you will get a reminder, and you'll keep getting the reminder until you've filled it out. Please, please, please fill out the tracker ASAP, because we have to send the librarian the attendance email, and that goes out in like 3 days after the class. So if you don't fill it out right away, then the librarian gets wrong numbers in terms of what the attendance is. All right. And this is really important, please make sure that you don't leave any gaps, right? So let's say if you are in this thing, in this particular element, sometimes, you'll just say diagnostic, and then you will move forward. Oh, there's nothing I gave for the homework, and then you start to enter something here. Now what happens is the system doesn't know that you really intended to leave this blank, so please fill out something here. So you can just say no homework, or you can just say diagnostic or something, so that a note is made what happened for the homework, right? Sorry, I made the mistake. So like here, if you had diagnostic, then make sure you do the homework. And same thing here, you want to fill out all the information. Okay. So the next thing, if by any chance you have to be absent because of some emergency and you're sick or something like that, please write to the lead for your library. It'll usually be the name of the library's nickname and then the lead at oneinmath.com. So for EOLA, it'll be EOLA lead. For Cambrian lead. For Little Elm lead. So, and you will know because a lot of the emails will come from this particular email address. Okay. And if you have to take the time off, please make sure you have updated the tracker, and the tracker plan is also there, because the tutor who will take over your student needs to know what to do with the student. And please try to inform us as soon as possible. Don't please keep it to the last moment, because it becomes very chaotic to manage your students if you inform last moment. Well, we have to also take some time to plan if you're going to be absent. All right. This is just a sample example of so many things that happen within the system every week. Before the session starts, of course, many things are happening. You're concerned more around what is happening every week. And we send out a bunch of different emails. The most important thing is, that we send out reminder for the first class and the last class. If If there is no class, we'll let you know that there is no class. Of course, you can see the student tracker. It will also say no class in there, but you'll also get an email, and anything in terms of reminder emails for you to kind of fill out the tracker in case you didn't do that, etc. All right, that's pretty much it. This is end of the tracker section. Thank you very much.